The government's command and control over your and my life has just gone on long enough, and it's time for this Jacinda woman to give up her vice-like grip and let us get on with our lives. This vice grip is still obvious with so many silly people who so childlike follow the wearing of one of her mandates, the wearing of the masks. Yesterday, I was in Kaiba Pass at the lights, and in the car next to me was a sole occupant, the driver wearing his mask. I couldn't believe it. We still have such weak-willed and easily led members of our society out there. I just can't believe that we still have people like that amongst us within our society. In fact, it was so refreshing to go shopping in Silverdale on Saturday. I went to one of the big hardware stores. Many customers were not wearing a mask, and the staff had no interest whether a mask was being worn or not. The staff member I spoke to was wearing a mask, and he wondered if silly illogical Cindy sits in her office wearing a mask, because crazy illogical Cindy, along with her traffic light maker friend, insist that that's the shop assistants, they have to wear a mask. We still have Kiwis stopped at overseas borders by this idiotic New Zealand bureaucratic Ardern Policies. Kiwis are being denied entry into their own country because our government refuses to budge on its pointless, stupid, silly, cruel rules at the border. Reported yesterday morning, there was a Kiwi who was denied entry to return to New Zealand from Australia because his pre-departure test, now listen to this is how stupid this Ardern woman and her administration has become. It was reported because the pre-departure test was taken 1 minute too early to satisfy the 48-hour period. We've also heard from people who have been kicked off flights for the very same reason just in recent weeks. Now, Chris Hipkins admitted weeks ago in Select Committee that the pre-departure testing regime is making very little difference, if any, make any difference at all, to case and to the hospitalisation rates in New Zealand. But what has he done since then to remove this futile policy? Nothing. A typical Labour twit half-witted school teacher. That's all he is. So he's done nothing, even though he has admitted that this whole thing is a futile policy put into place by that Ardern woman. And don't forget the idiot traffic light manufacturer, a fellow called Baker. This particular testing regime, it should have been gone weeks ago. In fact, it should have gone immediately that Chris Hipkins admitted that it was a pointless exercise. And yet this minister is still forcing us to bear the cost of pre-departure testing, despite himself admitting that there is no logical reason for it to continue. Those costs are paid by the traveller, both travelling Kiwis and the visitors, and in fact whole industries that depend on the border being open. The government's mismanagement of the border and unworkable isolation periods are making the problem worse for no benefit. Until New Zealand is truly open, we'll continue on this downward spiral into recession. Labour's lock 'em down and lock 'em out attitude has turned New Zealand into a hermit kingdom. People don't want to come here because of our logical restrictions, but ambitious Kiwis are now lining up to leave because of the cost of living, racist and separatist policies as well. It can't be more obvious. Isn't it time now that we do go and push for a real change? New Zealand is not a hermit kingdom, not with crazy control freak Cindy in the PM's office and all those gutless Labour backbenchers who have not got the desire to honour their pledge to their constituents. that by standing up for honesty and common sense, we have moved to being a queendom. Every time when a person dons their mask, they are endorsing the policies and the idiotic policies of this Ardern woman. I'm amazed how New Zealanders have become so sheep-like. When did a Kiwi become subservient to such a dangerous, evil person as Jacinda Ardern and her cabinet of misfit unemployables?